Hello, everybody.
Why am I
Welcome to
needing
another
move?
edition of the PhinManiacs PhinCast. And you already know who we got here. Once again, a returning guest, Miami Dolphin legend, Richmond Webb. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Jason? I'm good. I'm good. Couldn't be better. Other than COVID-19, I'm good. How you doing?
Other than that exact situation, I'm doing fine. I appreciate you asking. And I got to tell you, when you were on the show last time, we both kind of had that mutual agreement that this team needs offensive linemen. So I couldn't be better after the draft. And we're going to really jump into what the Dolphins did overall in the draft. But if you remember on the show, you talked about a specific lineman, Andrew Thomas, is the guy you really truly wanted as the Dolphins' #1 lineman pick after the potential quarterback. He was the first lineman taken by the New York Giants. So bravo, you had your eye exactly dead on. What are your thoughts about Andrew Thomas not being a Dolphin? And then we'll kind of go into some social media fun that went on today.
You know what? I'm good. We addressed needs, and we did get an offensive tackle. We got several offensive linemen. We got an offensive tackle with the first pick, one of the first picks. We had 3 of them. But we also got a quarterback, Tua. Got a safety cornerback as well. So I think what they did, they drafted smart. They drafted the needs that the team needed and filled holes and gaps. And I gave them an A on the grade. I was really happy with the way they did. And I think the last pick, they moved down and picked up a 4th, maybe another 4th rounder or something. So, and still got the guy that they wanted. So they continuing where they picked off last year. They did the same things during the draft. First year there, Coach Flores and those guys, and they're doing an outstanding job. So I'm extremely happy.
Same here. I thought that the offensive line molding of the 2 free agents that they signed in the offseason, in Karras and in Flowers, is really kind of the perfect joint combination for the 3 draftees, so to speak. But before that, I know you're a social media guy. You're all on Twitter, as we all love to do these days, especially now. And the Andrew Thomas pick was actually talked about today in the New York media circles. Their GM, Dave Gettleman, actually compared him to you. And I felt that that was a terrific comparison because you spoke about him, #1, and it made me feel good that he's comparing someone that I used to watch, in my glory days, but it was not a recent enough player that I thought it really resonated because you had a terrific career, obviously, and it really is setting the bar high for a 4th overall pick. But I agree with it. What are your thoughts about having that honor?
Anytime you get mentioned in a good light, that's tremendous. So I did see that on social media. I was very happy about that. And, you got to think about it. I got drafted 30 years ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but it was 1990. So for my name to be mentioned, and then for, it doesn't matter the team, but if you're a GM scout, you always look at other players, and other players typically remind you of somebody that's played previously or something. So for him, it was a huge compliment because offensive linemen don't normally get their names called that often. So for him to make that comparison, I was happy with that. And you know how New York people are, they love their sports, they die hard. So just to get that recognition, it was truly an honor for me.
Absolutely. It put a smile on my face knowing that I know all those papers, all those guys. And you're right. I mean, if you're being spoken about in the New York light just because you're, reminding them of a new player, it must be really nice to see. So congratulations on a nice, fun smile today. But I want you, if you don't mind, I want you to put GM offensive line coach hat on. What better person to analyze our first lineman pick, Austin Jackson, who's 20 years old. He's a big kid. You mentioned right away on Twitter, got quick feet. You like that youth and the potential, but now you have the opportunity to kind of cut through the tape, so to speak, and give us your opinion on the 20-year-old from USC.
Well, yeah. From the highlights and stuff I've seen, I didn't see SC play a lot, but just watching the clips that they played during the draft and watching him move, and now he's got great body control, great feet. He can pull. He can do just about everything you ask him. I think the concern with some people, the analysts or whatever, that they were analyzing was that he's 20 years old, so he's young. He hadn't played a lot of football, but I think the Dolphins understand that, and I think the key for him is getting him signed early where he can get those reps during training camp, get acclimated to the offense, because the main thing as a new player coming in, the X's and O's don't change, but you got to learn the terminology and you got to know what to do on different assignments versus defensive fronts and all that. And the quicker you learn that, you can just go react. But if you're still in a thinking mode, you're like, oh, do I have this guy or do I have that guy? It's some uncertainty there. So that's going to slow down, because you're not decisive in your decision making. So the quicker he can learn the offensive system, that's for anybody. Everything else accelerates. So I think they understand that, and I think they're going to try to get all those guys signed as quick as possible.
Love hearing that. And now we mentioned earlier, there was the two free agents, Karras, who's going to play some center, it seems, and then Flowers, who is going to be on the left guard slot, it seems, in my imagination. What do you think? Hello, Mrs. Webb. How you doing?
How you doing?
No worries at all. No worries.
Hey, look what she made right here.
I love that. That's amazing. That's amazing. I got to give you my address. I was going to the pro shop, but I might have to give you guys the business. I don't want to get anybody upset here, but I'll, capitalist. I'll entertain both. But, the lineman situation with both the free agents and the draftees coming in, would you put them all five together for one? I mean, do you see them, whether it's week 1, week 10, 5 guys coming together in 1 year, or do you see some other guys like a Jesse Davis or a Michael Dieter from the current crew staying in and mixing and matching? What do you think in that compilational line?
This is why I think it's going to be a mix and match, but I think you tell, I think Dieter has a little bit of an edge because he was there last year, some of those guys, but you tell them, hey, it's open. And if you want the job, you go out and win the job. Just because you guys came in together doesn't mean y'all going to all play together. Some of y'all might not make the team if you're not going to measure up and put the work in to try to make it better. So I think you let guys know that they'll have an opportunity to compete for the starting job. But if you don't win it, you're going to need some backups. But I think that way, if you go out and say, well, these are going to be the 5 guys that start, then some guys might say, well, I don't need to work that hard because they've already made up their mind who they're going to play, this and that. So I said, no, we're going to play the best 5 guys that we got at, each position, this and that, and open it up and let them compete. That's what we had to do. You had to earn your job. If you lost your job, you're going to be sitting on the bench, and nobody wants to do that.
It seems to me that was almost a minor theme of the draft, was bringing guys in. Some people questioned, you know what? They have a lot of corners. They have a number of guys on the defensive line. But I think it's, you get talent when you can get talent, number one. But there is a competition aspect. And I think these are good problems to have. And especially on the defensive side of the ball, a defensive-minded coach, rotations, depth. I love the grand body of work, and I agree that it is an A. But going back to the line, the 2 other linemen, if you could pinpoint anything specific about Hunt from Louisiana Lafayette and Kinley from Georgia, these are big guys, 979 total pounds coming onto this line combined, and I love it.
Yeah, and like you said, that's why I say it's so important to get in camp early. But like with Jackson, the first offensive tackle from SC, when you're a first rounder, you're expected to make an impact earlier than other guys. It doesn't always happen that way, but you should, in your own mind, expect, hey, they drafted me high, I should be trying to get on the field. What was the kid from
Hunt,
was it Robert?
Louisiana was the
Robert
next
Hunt.
pick.
Yeah, I had to go back and watch. He is a mauler, big, huge guy, and he seems more of a right tackle to me.
Okay.
Very physical, dominant, and because most teams just run to the right. They could be different now that 2 of the left-handed quarterback, but most of the time, people run to the right. So I could see him definitely competing because I was really impressed with his highlights. And then The other kid from Georgia that we took, Georgia probably had one of the best offensive lines overall across the board last year. And you saw it was evident by the way they were drafted. They had 2 guys in the first round. I think at least 3 guys got drafted. So that's phenomenal in 1 year off of one college team to see that many guys get drafted. So another guy that should come in and help us in this and that. And the good thing about the kid from Georgia, and he's played in the SEC. He's played against a lot of guys that's going to be NFL caliber talent. Maybe not yet, but if you can play in the SEC most of the time, you pretty much going to make the transition to the play in the NFL. So I feel good about all those picks. I thought we did an outstanding job.
Terrific picks. Couple of Alabama Crimson Tide members with Raekwon Davis on the line. Big physical mauler type of guy. But we got to talk Tua.
Yep.
Tua is now, I'm going to say this as best as I can. I can't wait. I'm excited. But, the expectations, I think, have to be kind of tempered. And I think the health factor is a factor that if I was running things, I probably wouldn't want him seeing a snap this year. What are your thoughts on Tua, the health, the overall plan for him?
Well, I kind of agree. I hadn't read the how he's progressing with his injury, but his health will be my main concern, because you don't look at him playing in 2020. You look at this guy being your quarterback for the next at least 10, 12 years. So it's a long-term investment. But, I tell people this, even last year before, they was tanking for Tua, this and that, blah, blah. Great kid, loved him, watched him throughout his college career. That wasn't the case. But then I always point back to this fact. Everybody wants to talk about the hip injury, or he's injury prone. And I had to, I guess I said it this way. I said, if Tua doesn't have that hip injury, against Auburn, it was kind of just freak accident to me, whatever. Who's the first quarterback off the board?
Tua, there's no question.
I said Tua. So
there's no question.
The ability is there. The main thing that we need to focus on, like you said, is getting him healthy. If he's not ready to play this year, we have Fitzpatrick. So I'm comfortable with that. The team rallied around him. That's a great veteran for him to study under, to learn, to get everything down, and then he'll be ready to go. But if everything is healing fine, this and that, and maybe later on in the year you want to work him in a couple games, I have no problem with that, long as he's healthy. If he's not healthy, then I say set him in and wait till the following year to play him.
I agree. If they're pushing 5-6 games in December, those are the wins. He's feeling good. He's cleared. You want to see what you have. I have no problem with that. Week 15, 16, 17, get a little buzz going. The Chiefs did that with Mahomes a couple of years back. So that's
right.
No problem with that. Did any other picks stand out in your mind as we get into like the day 3 areas? Was there anybody who just stood out and said, I can't wait to watch this kid play?
Yeah, the day 3, I kind of watched it, but the kid, Davis, we took in the second round from Alabama.
Yep.
What stood out for me is he is a run stopper. I mean, he plays the run tremendously. So not saying he's going to be a great pass rusher, but, you have some 2-down guys. You have guys for like 3rd and long, 2nd and long. So a lot of times you become a specialist. And I think Coach Flores, they will look at everybody, and some guys will be a specific job. Just all we want you to do. If it's playing the run, stopping the run, that's what you're going to do, this and that. But I was really impressed with him, and so we got a couple of Bama guys, and then I think was it Jones, the safety from Texas?
Yeah, Brandon Jones.
Yeah, and I guess what was kind of impressive to me from him was he was going through. They said during the draft he was going through, looking at all the coverages or the different defensive schemes from not just one team, but I guess all 32. I think he almost made it all the way through. But I said, this guy here doesn't mind studying film or whatever. So if you can do that, it's not going to take you long to come out and contribute. And I think some of those guys know that you're not going to just be right in the starting role, but if you can make plays on special teams and stuff like that, we're going to be good.
You make a great point. Some of these players, even like the 8th or 9th or 10th free agent sign, the 9th, 10th, 11th picks, they can make really good amount of headway on special teams. If you're, a kid like a Malcolm Perry who could be used in a number of different ways. Maybe he could return kicks. Maybe he could be used as like one of those gadget play guys. So they did a great job overall. I'm going to give you the exact same grade as you.
Is that the kid from Navy?
Yes. Yep.
Yes.
I love that.
I could see him possibly being like a Edelman or something, maybe playing him in the slot. Because if you play running back, if you play in the slot, you don't have to really worry about getting jammed on the line because, it's separation there.
Right.
But as a running back, you're known for juking and making guys miss and this and that. And if you can throw a quick little move and they just dump the ball to you, man, that's a great way to keep the chains moving or make a guy miss and big plays. And I was excited about that when I saw him. And a lot of people don't look at that. Yeah, they just say, yeah. So I thought that was definitely a good pickup.
And I think the last thing that we'll talk about on the draft was they flipped a 5th rounder to San Francisco and they brought in Matt Breida, who is a speedster. They call him the cheetah, and he is a guy who could match with Perry, match with Jordan Howard, Patrick Laird. And even if they retain 5 running backs or 6 running backs, and Kalen Ballage still in the mix, they got a lot of guys who can get touches. And it seems to me like it's very New England, if you really compare.
Hey, I love the name Cheetah for a nickname. I mean, that explains it itself. But it was smart because you pick up a guy that's already been tested. He's already been proven. You've seen what he can do at this level. So it removes the unknown and say, okay, this is a guy, we can use him in our 3rd down package. We can use it for screens. You already know if you get this guy the ball, certain plays, because I'm sure they've studied film when he was at the 49ers and saw what he really did well, successful. You plug that in and just let him go to work.
Agreed there. So you put everything together. They basically built a half a team in the last 2 months with bringing in around 20 some odd players. More than that if you consider the undrafted free agents, because as we've seen, those kind of players make an impact. Tom Brady's gone. The Bills are good. The Jets are the Jets. This division is wide open. And I don't think that there's any stretch to say that this division is just wide open. And I think it could be a 7, 8, 9 win situation, much like we've almost seen in the last couple of years here and there. No 10-win team maybe this year. Some team is going to sneak in. Why not the Dolphins? Is that crazy to say this year?
It's not crazy at all. And what people got to remember is we're not the team from 2019 September. We're the team that finished up strong in November and December. And even we won 5 games, but we probably could have easily won 7. Yeah. So now with a little bit more talent, better offensive line, this and that, you swing 2 or 3 games, you're at 8-8. You know what I'm saying? So we're not that far off. And like you said, you got Fitzpatrick. So rather than shuffling the quarterback early on, this and that, you got a guy that you can plug in there from day one and just let him go. And I'm telling you, I'm excited. So it's wide open, but I like our chances this year. I do.
I like our chances this year. I won't be devastated if it's, 7 and 9, you miss the playoffs by a couple of games, but it would be devastating if they have that, maybe 2 games you need to win to get in, and then it doesn't happen. But they're there. They're starting. They're building something. And
they're there. And I'm gonna tell you why you won't be disappointed too, is because you see the way they competed last year when they were a lot of times outmatched, but they found a way to win games. So if we end up 7 and 9, it would probably. It's not going to be because we didn't compete from start to finish. I don't think you'll see that type of product on the field. I think we're going to compete from day one, start to finish, this and maybe a fluke play or maybe a penalty or something like that, or maybe injuries could impact us not doing as well as we are. But I'm telling you, I feel really good. The only thing is that just if we can, I don't know how they're gonna do with this COVID-19 stuff, but the quicker guys can get in there, because normally you have your mini camps, your quarterback school, this and that. They hadn't been able to participate and stuff like that. So that might play a little bit of factor, but I think the effort and stuff is going to be there. So I feel good about this year.
Likewise, if there's anything that you could put together for what your excitement is specifically, whether it's the run game, the pass game, defense, just watching the blockers, what would be that one thing that makes you say 2020, get here, let's get the games going?
I think the better offensive line. I think making a trade for the running back from the 49ers, bringing in Tua, all the draft picks they did, some of the acquisitions and free agency, but seeing it come together, and I know a lot of people say, well, we got a bunch of defensive backs. I think what they're not realizing is last year we played a bunch of man-to-man coverage. So you're going to need guys that, when they go for a while, it seems like a lot, but it's not a lot when you play that type of defense, and that's what's expected. So, like a lot of people were frustrated last year until we kind of started turning it around, they're going to be much more happier this year. So I told them, I said, we went through a complete rebuild. We got rid of a lot of stuff. I knew it was going to hurt a little bit, but they exceeded my expectations last year because I didn't expect them to win 5 games. So I like the coach. I like the front office. They're doing the right things. And I think everybody's going to be happy.
I agree. I can't say it better myself. The last thing that I want to talk about with you, Richmond, the last couple of months, especially when Tua was drafted, and this is an overall conversation because my curiosity gets up on this, number talk. I think most players might have an emotional attachment. Some may not. I'd love to hear from you 2 phases of the question. What are your thoughts on, or what Tua may go with, and what you know about the situation? And of the man that you know, you're the man that protected the man. What would he think, or if you were a fly on the wall in his house, what would he say to this number conversation?
Yeah, well, I think we can put that to rest because I just recently saw where Tua came out and said 13, he's not worried about that number. So he's going to choose another number, whether it's 1, 3, whatever available. He seems like the type of kid to just give me a number, let me go to work. And he knows it's not that important. I think since he plays the quarterback position, he respects the body of work that Dan Marino put out for the Dolphins and the reason they retired that number. So you look at, it's not many guys that can play 18 years at the same position for the same organization. Kind of like Tom Brady, that just doesn't happen that often. I don't care. 18 years, once you get 15, you really, no matter what I think that. So I think the kid has a great attitude. I think he just wants to come in and play football and win football games. And I guess I look at it both ways because I can remember when I left the Dolphins and went to Cincinnati. And so it was a guy I looked up to, a Hall of Fame guy, Anthony Munoz. He wore 78. I wore 78. So I can remember coming in, meeting the equipment guys and stuff like that. And they said, hey, we really don't like giving out that number. And I didn't have an issue with it. I was kind of like Tua because I held Anthony Munoz in such a high regard. He's one of the best to ever play the game. And I said, man, I can pick another number. I understand. And when a guy's put together a body of work for like that for an organization, the history and all that, you understand it. Some of the younger people that probably didn't really get to see Dan Marino and what he did and how special he was for the organization, that's probably more the people that's saying, oh, if he wants to just let him wear this and that. But if you were truly able to experience, some of the games, this and that, and you grew up watching Marino, something you're like, no way. So that's my take on it right there.
you have a problem with it, go to Richmond. Don't look at me. Argue with him. Go argue with the Pro Bowl left tackle.
Don't worry with Jason. I got him. Tell him send him my way. Yeah, come send him my way.
I'll take the ball on a sweep. I'll run. I'll be like, Richmond, get him. I'm not a fast man, but I'll pick up the first. I'll pick up the first there.
Yeah, let me get a hand on him before you run on around. Then I'll meet you in the end zone. How about that?
I'll dive. I'll keep the ball right inside the pylon, and we'll celebrate. Well, listen,
that sounds good.
This is a pleasure. You are a reoccurring guest on the show. It's like you're like my Steve Martin Saturday Night Live guy. You know, I'm always going to rely on you if I need a guy to come on and talk football. Is that an honor that you could accept?
I can definitely accept it. And like you say, Steve Martin, one of the best to ever do it. So, yeah, I have no problem with that comparison.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, the best to you and yours. I'm going to send you my address, and you send me your PayPal. I'm going to pay for that Dolphin mask. That's a great job on Mrs. Webb.
All right. Thanks, Jason. I appreciate it.
You got it, man. Take care, 78. Have a great night.
Hey, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Be well.